Welcome everybody from Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here with us today. Once again, we're continuing to look at our urban parking system that's been developed and designed in Enterprise Architect. Recently, we've been looking at requirements, modeling and management, and we're going to continue that series today. And in particular, we're going to be looking at an introduction to requirements in Kanban. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined by Stephen McGuire. Welcome, Stephen. What can you tell us about Kanban in Enterprise Architect and how you can use it to better manage requirements?
Thank you for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yes, we are going to look at Kanban today in Enterprise Architect, and I must say in my own consulting practice, I come across people that don't know that this facility is in the tool, and so I'm kind of delighted to be speaking about it today. Let's have a look first at something a little bit different. Let's open the help system. So I'm going to open the help and we'll search for Kanban. I'm going to drag that onto this monitor. It's on a different monitor, and I'll drag that across onto this one. And so this is the online help system. You can see it's online. It's based on a URL there. I'm going to click in here and just click in look for Kanban. So that's the search facility there. I can look for Kanban and I'll hit go there to find that. It's doing a lot of work in the background, so it's churning through thousands and thousands of help pages to find the right information for us, and it'll bring up a list of possibilities. So Kanban Quick Start in the user guide, Kanban options, there we go, Kanban boards. And you can see this is the user guide. We've got website matches, documents, related videos. So a lot of information there. I want to look in the user guide and I'm going to look at Kanban Quick Start there. And we can have a look at that. That's the quick start there. I can have a look at, go back to Kanban boards generally, and this gives me a bit of a background in it. So just in case people aren't familiar with Kanban, Kanban, which literally translates to a visual can and a card, so a visual card or billboard, is an operational method used to increase efficiency. It was originally developed by the industrial engineer Tachi Ono, if I'm pronouncing that right, while working at Toyota. Ono analysed the way that supermarket shelves are stocked and applied the lessons learned to the factory floor, creating unprecedented efficiency. So I encourage you to go and look at that, help read it there, and you'll get a bit of a background to Kanban. This is a little bit what it's going to look like. So that's a Kanban board. It's got a series of columns and we've got elements inside those columns, and you can see there are a number of other visual cues on those elements, including icons at the top, and also...
Is this the sort of thing that you might use in a kind of agile environment?
Yeah, that's right, Scott. You could use it, absolutely use it for agile. Kanban's an aspect, one way of doing Kanban, of doing agile, but the thing is that you can do it for any iterative process or any process where you've got a series of work channels, if you like. So we've got a backlog, a queue, and in progress, and test and review. You can see here that we're going to look at a number of different things in Kanban. I encourage you to look at this though, and look at the help system and get some ideas from that. We'll come back to that help system in a little bit, but let's get started with this, Scott. As always, I like to set my perspective up in the top right hand corner here. I've got a set of perspectives grouped into sets, and I want to go now to if I go to look at construction, you can see that Kanban is there. So it's under the construction, meaning working on the project, if you like. So we'll click on Kanban. It comes up there, and you can see now that the tool has set its focus to Kanban, and we've got a number of different patterns here that you can get productivity gains by just simply injecting those into your model. You can click the Create Model button. As always, Scott, I like to do things from first principles. I'm going to close the Builder page there, and I'm going to go to my model and start from first principles. I'm going to select a package to house my Kanban diagrams, and I'm going to do it for requirements. This is the topic that we're looking at the moment, requirements. But be aware, Scott, that you can use Kanban for any aspect and any element or any discipline inside the tool. So you might be you might be adjusting particular elements in a way, adding some more detail to them, and you could use Kanban to track which elements you've worked on. So here we've got our functional requirements. I'm going to add another package here, and I'm going to call it product management. I'm going to create the package by using the new package icon in the browser window there, and I'll call it product management. So having created that package, I'm now going to create a diagram. So again, using the toolbar, the browser toolbar, new diagram there, and I'll click on that and create a new diagram. And I'm going to call it product management requirements. So I'm going to create a Kanban diagram, and I'll say that it's a basic type. So that gives me a whole list of columns there. I just wanted to show you that, Scott, that's what you can do from using those Kanban diagram types. I'm just going to delete that for a minute now and show you how to do it absolutely from scratch. So here you've got the low, medium, high, and critical. It's put the names in for you, but you can do that reasonably easily. I'm just going to copy that name there. You can do that reasonably easily from just creating a diagram from scratch. So I'll show you that. We're really back at first principles now. So new diagram, and I'll say I want a requirements diagram. So I'm going to choose requirements there as the type, and I'll choose requirements diagram, and I'll put that same diagram name in. So the point is here, it doesn't matter whether you create a Kanban diagram or whether you create just a diagram and apply the Kanban to it. And I'll show you how that works, Scott. We'll go create diagram there. Now I'll get a blank diagram. So this one isn't yet a Kanban diagram, but if I right mouse click on the diagram canvas, you can see that Kanban is an option there. I'll click on Kanban, and that's popped up the dialog box on it.
Before with the templates, Enterprise Architect was doing all this work for you.
Exactly. And Scott, call me old-fashioned, but I want to do things from first principle. I want to show people how to do things from scratch, because
and I assume this gives you the ability to label the lanes or the columns exactly how you like and put them in the order that you like. And
exactly, yeah. You can do that with the other one. You can adjust the names and things, but it's given you a starting point. And that might be very useful for some people, but if you wanted to do it completely from scratch and start, from first principles, then this is the way to do it. So we've got Kanban there, and so I've got configuration. First thing I'm going to do is say that I wanted to enable Kanban. So the next thing I'm going to do is I won't show the names in the title bar or swim lanes with locked. I could do that, but I'm not going to. Bind the Kanban to. So if you remember the help that we looked at, the Kanban had a series of columns, which are going to represent sort of stages in some sort of workflow. So think about it as almost like a workflow. So what I want to bind this to is I'm going to set this here, and you can see that I've got an options of none tag values. So if you created your own properties, you might have your own property there, but I'm going to go element and choose status there. So now I've got element status there. Now, if I was just to say OK, then it would just wouldn't change the diagram at all. But I'm going to say fill from binding. So the binding, this is bound here to element status. I'm going to say fill from binding. And now you can see that what the tool has done is it's put in a number of columns there. So I can reorder these columns. Scott, I can say, look, the proposed was the first one. Using this little hand icon here, I can push that up and say proposed. I can then say, validated was the next thing we wanted to do, and approved, implemented, in progress. So we want in progress in there. And I can also, if I want to, put in a new one, and let's do that, backlog. This is a common thing that you have in a agile implementation. So we'll put the backlog in there, and again we'll push that backlog up in front of the other ones. So that's a useful thing to do there, Scott. I'm going to just apply that now, and we'll see what happens. Go OK to that. We've got backlog, proposed, validated, approved in the order that we put. I'm going to go back into the Kanban. So this is a common thing happen. I'm going to go back into that Kanban now, and I'm going to look at the appearance here. I'm going to say, look, I want the font color to be a little different, make it a little bit softer on the diagram. So let's change that. I'm not going to change too much of those. We'll come back to a number of these other properties here, including the overfill and underfill limits, but we'll leave that for the moment. But we do have down at the bottom here, use the Kanban drawing style, which I think is a good thing to do, and I'll talk about that a little later in one of the advanced videos. Native element draw style, so we're going to use the Kanban drawing style there, and we're going to put in the author and the phase. So this is the meta information that we're going to add to each element. So let's go OK to that. And now we're ready to start, Scott. We can actually start working on our requirements. So the package that I want to look at is these functional requirements here, and I'm going to put in some elements. So what I'm going to put in is this.
So we're not really creating new requirements. We're just using requirements that are already in the model in a package.
Yeah, so the requirements have been created, and if you look at the earlier videos on this topic, you would have seen that we created those and linked them up to workshops that we used a mind map diagram to represent stakeholder concerns and needs and things. So we've got our requirements there, and you can see these requirements have all got I've got notes in them talking about what they are. Now I'm going to just put in one of these requirements. I'll put in this time display one, for example. So I'll drag that in and say OK to that. And you notice that it just popped into the approved column.
Yeah,
Scott.
It's like you let go at proposed, but it jumped to approved.
Yeah, so where you put it on the diagram is not going to determine where it goes. Where it's going to go is based on its status. So if we look at the status in this element, we can see that it's approved. So we had been working on the requirements at an earlier stage, and so we had some of these things set. But if this element wasn't in fact approved, I can drag it to another column. For example, I can drag it to the proposed column and say move to proposed. And now you can see that the element has changed its status in the properties window there to proposed. I can do the same thing. I'm going to drop it into backlog there, and I'll say move to backlog. So a lot of your requirements might start in that backlog state. So I'm going to now look at the payment display here, and we'll look at that. We'll drop that again. It doesn't matter where we drop it. It's gone into in progress, and that's where it is. So that's a useful element. We've got something in progress there, and let's put some other elements in here. We've got this one here, availability. So let's drag that one on, and you can see that one's going into the proposed one as well. Now let's look at some other properties of these. And one of the other properties we've got is we've got our status, we've got our difficulty is low there, our visibility, our priority. Now, if we look at some of these priorities, we see that this one's medium and this one's low, and this one's medium. Let's change this one here to being a critical one there, or a high one. So yeah, now you can see that what's actually happened is that little triangular icon in the top corner there has changed. This one is priority low, so it's not. This one was medium, so it's not getting an icon saying that there's any concerns about it. But the little yellow icon is telling you, that there's something going on with priority there.
So someone could look at a Kanban diagram and instantly identify what things are critical and need to be done straight away.
Exactly, Scott. So let's have a look at this as well. I'm going to have a look at difficulty. I'm going to change this difficult one to difficult here. And this one is not very difficult. The one that's over here is medium. So we've got a number of different difficulties there. Let's do something else, Scott. We're going to, do something extra here. I'm going to put on a diagram legend. So I'll just drag that onto the diagram. And I'm going to use the legend now to change some of these colors. So with the legend selected in that diagram there, I'm going to go into the legend here, and I'm going to say I'm going to apply this legend to a to all, and I'm going to change it to element difficulty. Yeah, and now I'm going to add some values here. So I'll go, low there for the value, and let's put a display color in there, display fill color there of this green, say, and let's tone that down just a little bit. It's a bit on the bright side, so we can easily change those custom colors a little bit. We don't want it to be too close to that other color, but that's good. We'll save that. We'll enter another one, say new, and we'll say medium, and we'll put in a fill color for that one. This orange color, save that, and then we'll put in a new one of high, and we'll do the fill color there of this one, and we'll save that. We've got to apply that, apply the auto color there, and save that. And now you can see that these elements have changed color based on their difficulty. So what I'm wanting to do, Scott, is to show ways that you can use these tool features together to give you much more power and productivity. So that tells you quite a bit about it. You can tell that the status is proposed by the column that it's in. You can tell the priority by the icon, the little triangular icon that's above there, and also then you can tell very quickly the difficulty of the element as well. So, and I can put multiple items into lanes as well. So I can just move that one across. Typically they would move across from column to column like this as you were working, and we'll have a look at a finished diagram in a minute. But one other thing I want to do, Scott, is this one's in progress here. This payment display is in progress. What I want to do is bring up the resources window. So I'm going to do that under the construct ribbon. So if we go to the construct ribbon, the resources management panel, and then resources there. So this has popped up a window, and I'm going to say that this payment display has been worked on by a number of resources. So I'll click on the little icon for new, and I get a resource there, and I'm going to say that Jenny Kitabashi is working on that one. Her role is a business analyst there, and actually let's say that she was a requirements management person, and let's give her a few days to finish this work. So we'll say okay to that, save and close, and you can see now that a little bar has popped up there showing me that Jenny Kitabashi's got some work to do. If I click on that, on that one there, and bring up the this, have a look, modify resource, and you can see that she hasn't done much work. So I've just been talking to Jenny, and Jenny has actually done around about 55, a little bit more than 65%, she says, of her work. Expected time, 2 days maybe, allocated time 3 days possibly, and let's go okay to that. And now you can see that little bar indicating the amount of work that's completed is there. And Jenny may not be the only person working on this. Typically in a agile project or an iterative project, you might have multiple people working on this. Group of people might swarm onto this. Let's add another resource here. So let's put in, actually let's close that one and go new there. And let's put in a resource of Casper Hyde.
So these resources for the specific element that's highlighted.
Yeah, exactly. So this role here is a C++ programmer, and let's start that. Let's start that a little bit later, and let's go through until a little bit. That. Yeah, on the Monday. So let's save and close that. Now you can see that Casper's in there as well, and Casper's timeline is there, and I can go modify resource as well, and I can say that Casper's been doing some work on this as well, but hasn't finished as much. So let's go okay to that, and now you can see that both the resources view with the Gantt chart there is showing us when these things are occurring in time, and also here visually on a Kanban diagram we can see very clearly that work is underway. And you can see here the the role that they're forming requirements analyst and C++ programmer. So that can happen on any element, Scott, and it's not a burden. This isn't something that typically would happen with a project manager. It could be that you're working an agile project and people will dynamically assign themselves to particular tasks to get them done. If you're in a more formal environment, of course, where a project manager was assigning resources, then that could be controlled by the project manager. So both options there are available, and there's a lot of flexibility in using this tool. I guess the really useful thing, Scott, is that if I wanted to have a look at a requirement, let's just have a look at some of our use cases. So under our behavioral models down here, we've got use cases. Let's have a look at our parking meter system use realizations there. And we've got that there, get parking information, book parking session, check remaining time. Let's have a look at our parking meter system use case one there, and our traceability use case one there. So we've got traceability, so book parking session, and let's have a look at what can happen. Let's find this one in the project browser. So we're moving around our repository. We've opened a lot of different diagrams there to view it. Let's have a look at our product management there, and let's drag this book parking session on to our Kanban diagram. And let's have a look where that went. Book parking session, it went into in progress. That was there. And so now I'm going to close all the diagrams. I'll save this, but using the context menu from the diagram tab, let's just say we're going to close all except product management requirements. And so we'll say yes to that. And so we've got this here, Scott. Now, when someone's working on this Kanban diagram, they're not just working like in some web-based tool where this is all they can see, this view of the Kanban. What's powerful about Enterprise Architect is the ability to look at this element in its context. So first of all, I can click on the element. I can see the notes there. The system must allow motorists to book any number of sessions, things. But I can also click on that and say, find, not in the project browser, but find in all diagrams. And you can see that it's actually in a lot of different diagrams. So, here we have system views, the parking meter session, requirements model, business case, use case, traceability. Let's just open a couple of them and have a look. So that's where it is there. But again, I can, find that in another diagram. So I can go back to that list, find in all diagrams, and system views parking meter session. Let's have a look at that. So here we have a business case, and it's related to the business case, which is related to a use case, which is related to a component, and all sorts of other things going on in that diagram there. So it's an incredibly powerful feature, and I want people to understand that that's really the power of it, being able to look at the Kanban diagram and know where you're up to, but then go back and see exactly the context of the element in relation to other disciplines, in relation to
not
strategy.
Not just the pretty diagram, but on top of that, you've got notes and you've got linkages and you've got traceability, and you can have that same element in hundreds of other diagrams and connected throughout the project.
So that's right, Scott. If someone wanted to understand this in more detail, they could go back and say, look, I want to look at the business case and see, exactly what this thing was about. They want to, look at it in terms of use cases and some of those details they can. So incredibly powerful. We've only put a few elements on here, Scott, but what we're going to do is we'll finish this video here, and we're going to have an advanced video on Kanban and some of the more advanced features. And so, stay tuned for that video, because we'll learn a lot more tricks in how to work with Kanban diagrams, including, loading up the elements automatically, which will be, a really, good productivity gain.
Now, I look forward to that. I think that sounds good. And I've certainly learned a lot and found it very interesting how easy it is to move columns, and Enterprise Architect seems to do all the hard work in the background, updating the status. And I think it's really great that at a glance you can see the status, the difficulty, and all sorts of other properties, including what resources are assigned. So it's a really powerful diagram. To our wonderful audience, thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you here. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel, where you can see videos like this and many, many more. If you have any questions about Kanban diagrams or Agile or requirements management, you can reach out to Stephen using the LinkedIn and website details that are included in the video description listed below. As always, thanks very much, Stephen, for a very enlightening and interesting presentation on Kanban diagrams, and I'm looking forward to the advanced topic to learn a little bit more.
Always a pleasure, Scott.